Okay, so what I wanted to go over with you today is in the inventory module, we have what we call uses. Okay, and so if I'm going to look at, I'm going to pull up an item here. So today we're going to look at the FVRCP plus leukemia as a combo. And I'm going to show how that's broken down into each particular stock and then how the reminders work as well. Okay, so first, just to explain what a use is. Okay, a use you'll see here once you add it as an inventory item. It's basically what you're pulling from the same stock, but you can have a different name for each one. Oh, give me 1 second here. Okay, so you can have different names, and then this is what the what you will see when you add a record. It's actually going to pull up the name of what you have listed as your use instead of the actual name here. Okay, and then with every use, you'll also have that next due date, and that's very important to input because that way, when you create a reminder under your actions, it'll then be based off of that use that you're referring to. Okay, so I'm going to look at my FVRCP stock. I'm also going to pull up the other two. I also made a FVRCP plus leukemia stock, and I also made just the leukemia stock. All right, so first, when you're adding these, you always want to make sure you first add the name and then the category, and then you can put in your next due here, which I just have as 12 months. Now, since we're just looking at FVRCP, okay, I only have 2 specific uses in here for that. And everyone does call their first one different. Sometimes they'll call it just booster. I always like to name it initial first. And then you know that's going to be what you would be giving a puppy as their first initial. And it's just easier to look at when you look at your history that it's called the initial rather than just a booster. The other use you would have would be for the 3-year. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do is add this as an item and then add your uses with your next due. All right, next, we're then going to look at our, okay, and just the leukemia stock alone. Okay, so I have my name is leukemia, I have my category, and my next due here. Again, for the leukemia, we don't typically need uses for this because the leukemia has actions, but I'll explain this later on as far as why there does not need to be a use here because this is going to be added to the combo vaccine. All right, so thirdly, now we're on to our last third item. And by the way, all of this is in the help desk, which I hope you all know that help desk is right here. And we have an example of all of this under the DAPP plus Lepto. So I just want to quickly show where you can find that. If you have any questions, you can always refer back to this. It's very similar as if we're using distemper and lepto, and it'll explain how to do that. Okay, so going back, this is your combo vaccine. And then I have my uses here. Okay, so again, when you go to search for a record for a patient, you're not going to just see this display name here. You're going to have a drop down now for all of these different uses. So I have also created now, after you receive initial, they'll receive the FVRCP plus leukemia booster number 1. And that's at 1 month. Next due. The second use you want to create would be the FVRCP plus leukemia booster number 2. And that next due is for 12 months. third use you want to create would be the FVRCP plus leukemia 1 year. And the last would be the FVRCP plus the 3 year. Okay, so hopefully everyone's following that. Okay, now after you're done putting in the uses, that's when you can go back and start to create your actions as far as how you would want the reminders to go out to your client. And so going back to my FVRCP, in order to create a reminder action, you need to click into this lightning bolt. You would click New Action. The action would be a reminder. And then what I have set up, which you can see in the background here, for my use, the initial first, I would like, when using my initial, I would like a reminder to be created for this item as well, because they're going to be receiving that again in 4 weeks. And so that would look just like this here. And you always want to make sure that you have the, let me go back here. Okay, there's going to be specific ones that I'll show you that you want to make sure that the due date is going to be the is due or is given. And so they're going to be is due until we get to the combo vaccine, and I'll show you that when it changes to the is given. All right, so that's the first action we want to create. Now this next action here is the FVRCP. I need a reminder to also be for the next 3 year as well, for just the FVRCP. And so what you would do is same concept, new action. You would create reminder when using the 3 year. And then I also want it to stay for this item. Okay, so that's a really easy, simple action reminder to set up. It's just the 2 there. Before we go to the combo, we can set up our leukemia action. Okay, so I already have my actions pulled up here. Okay, this one is also an easy one to create. It's just one reminder that you'll need. And that is to create the reminder for leukemia for this item and then for this item. Okay, and it'll be set to 12 months because you have your next due date in here. All right, now we get to our combo. Okay, and this is where things need to be put in here correctly. All right, so just so you know, when you're looking at these actions, the software reads from the beginning to top. Okay, so I'll get back to this disable reminder here. But what we first want to do is going down to the bottom here is we want to make sure we go back and we give our initial. And then we need a reminder for the booster as well. So what I need to do is create a reminder for when I'm using my FVRCP plus leukemia booster number 1, I need that reminder to be created for booster number 2. And so you can see this is where it's important to make sure that this is set to is due and not is given, because it's pulling from that use of what you set for the FVRCP plus leukemia booster number 1. All right, and so once you have that set up, now they're going to next be given the booster number 2, and they'll need another reminder to come back for that. So when using the FVRCP plus leukemia booster number 2, they need a reminder to come back for their FVRCP 1 year. And so I selected my when using. You always want to make sure to select another item. And that way, when you click in this box, your drop downs would be selected here. So I have my 1 year that they're going to come back for, and it's set to is due. All right, so now they've come back and you've given them the 1 year FVRC, or I'm sorry, the FVRCP plus leukemia 1 year. And what happens here is they do need to come back. In this example of what I'm doing, they would be coming back for the leukemia in 1 year, but they do not need to come back for the FVRCP until another 3 years. And so edit action. So now what you do is you'll have to split the actions when using my 1 year, and I'm going to split it between my FVRCP and leukemia. So it's now going to create 2 separate reminders internally in Vetter. And this is where you'll want to make sure it's changed to is given. The 1 year is given. I'm sorry, highlighted here. All right, and then now for the FVRCP plus leukemia 3 year, again, you have this as split. You're going to create for another item. This is going to be the last action. And you'll want to split this again so that they come back in 3 years, but they're still coming back every year for the leukemia. And then make sure this is set to is given. Okay, so these are the only 2 different ones that need to be set differently. Okay, now there is a disable reminder action that you can create. However, you can only create 1 disable action. So what I mean by that is when you create an action for disable reminder, you will have to click in this box and add in all of your all of the ones that you need. Instead of creating your own action, you will not be able to create multiple disable reminders. Just make sure they're all added into here. And so the reason we do this, again, the software is reading from top to bottom, is it's creating reminders, okay, for your uses, but we also want to disable certain reminders, okay, when we're using the combo vaccines. And so I'll show you how this works when we actually go through all of this with a patient, but it's important to disable all the extras here. So what I've done is disabled my 3 year, the initial, the FVRCP stock alone, and the leukemia alone. And then you can always keep this as update all bundles if you have any. Okay, and now what I'd like to do is actually run through a patient and go through this process as if we were going through the years so you can see how this all works. Because there will be certain internal reminders that you will have to remember to look at your history and realize, okay, this reminder is not going out to the client, but you still have to select complete reminder in order for all of this to work. All right, so I'm going to go under patient Kirra. Let's see if she has any vaccines here. All right, I'm actually going to we'll create a new patient so they don't have any vaccines. There we go. All right, save and done. All right, so we're going to start adding in as if we're seeing this patient first. We're going to see them for their initial. Okay, actually, let me go back. So I have added that inventory item with my name in the beginning, so I know because we're in the demo account. But you'll notice that when I type in the LARA, or if you were to type in your FVRCP, you'll notice all of your uses are going to show up here, not what you have displayed in the actual inventory area. Okay, so here you'll be able to see and select which one you want, which is going to be our initial. And then you're showing that it has the correct date that it's next being due 1 month from today. Oops, move that. Okay. So you can see here, it's created my FVRCP initial, it's showing as given. The next time they need to come back is for the booster. Here is where you can look at the reminders going out. Right, and you can see that they're first receiving the reminder. Let's see. Why did that not show? This should say reminder. I may have to go back to that. But basically, what's going to happen next is once you give the initial and you go back to the next booster that's given. Okay, so that would be booster number 1. And so that'll be on 1/08/2020. Okay, save and done. All right, and now it's showing that the FVRCP and booster number 2 is the next reminder that's going to be going out to the client. Oh, and I'm sorry, you know what? It says no reminder here because I don't have a client associated with this patient. So I should have created that first. Okay, and there is that reminder that's going out now. So I apologize for that if that confused anyone. Okay, so now we're going to go into the future again, and we're going to give them their next booster, which is going to be booster number 3. FVRCP plus leukemia. I'm sorry, booster number 2. And that is due 2/08/2020. Okay, and you can see the next due is showing here for the next 1 year. Save and done. All right, and because we just gave that last booster, now the client's next due is the 1 year, and that'll be due a year from that date. Okay, so the client's going to receive that reminder 2 weeks before is what I set for that 1 year. All right, and now I'm going to click medical record. FVRCP plus leukemia 1 year is going to be given in 2021 now. So we're really jumping into the future here, February 8th. And save and done. Okay, and you can look at the history here too, that you can see we're going in order. Okay, so now is given. So they were given, now this is where it's important to see that now you have 3 reminders here, and it can look kind of confusing because you might think, oh, I didn't give leukemia twice, or I didn't give FVRCP twice. This is just showing the reminder here. But again, because we had to create the way how the uses are and the actions, it's going to split these now into 2 separate reminders. Okay, but when you look in the reminders here, the client's not going to receive this reminder here for the 1 year again. They need to come back first for the leukemia in 1 year, and then they're going to come back for the FVRCP in 3 years. So what you need to do in this sense is go to complete reminder, refresh your screen, and then that's what you should be seeing now. Okay, so then they're going to receive their leukemia for the next 2 years in a row. And that leukemia is due 2/08/2022. Okay, and you can see still we have to give it another year. It's due in 2023. We're not giving our 3 year yet. It's not due till 2024. Oh, and I should go back and show you again, the client's reminder, they're only going to receive in that next year the reminder for the leukemia. They're not going to receive another reminder for the 3 year because they already received it. (2/08/2023). Okay. So moving along, now we're set to do on the same date for both the FVRCP 3 year and the leukemia. So now it is important for you to be able to go back and look at your records and realize, okay, instead of doing each singular, I'm going to give the combo vaccine. And so you'll go into your records and you'll select the combo 3 year. This one right here. And so if you remember that we had disable reminder, okay, so that's going to disable the reminders to go out for the 1 year and the 3 year standalone again. But they're still going to show internally, okay, which you can see here. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I changed the dates correct on this. My apologies. Oh, you know what? It was 2/08/2024 was the next due. Okay, and so your reminders. And so again, what you'll need to do, you don't want to send them out another reminder for the FVRCP plus leukemia because they need to come back again for leukemia the following year. So you'll just go here and complete reminder. And then you'll do that entire cycle again. Refresh your screen. The next year we'll get the leukemia, a couple more years, and then we'll go back to the combo again. And so again, this is very similar to the distemper and lepto example as well. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Sorry that I added the 3 year with the wrong date. I hope that didn't confuse anyone. But I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. Let me unmute everyone. Okay, so if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask. If you don't have a microphone, You can also type into the chat if you have a question.
Used it too.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
There you go. Because it's real hair.
All right, so no questions. Anyone have questions about the new schedule?
Okay, we're not understanding, or whenever someone comes in for an appointment, they had the vaccines, is it not automatically generating these reminders? We have to manually go in there and generate each one of them?
When you set up your inventory, you will have to manually create the action to go out by email, and the client will receive it automatically from Vetter, but the action needs to be created first under your inventory.
Okay, all right. I thought you were saying that every time we did any vaccines, we'd have to manually go in there and create the reminder individually.
No, it's just a one time you create the action. I just wanted to make sure everyone saw step by step that you can see every time you give a vaccine, you can always look into here to see what reminders are going out. There's only 2 examples that you'll need to go in here and complete that reminder. And it's when you're splitting up that combo vaccine.
Okay. All right. That's a lot better. I was starting to worry.
I'm sorry if it was confusing.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time to check someone out.
Yeah. All right, anyone else have questions? And hopefully everyone has been able to also All right, well, I will then, oh, we have a question here.
I'm gonna go get this stuff ready.
Okay.
Counting for the end of the year inventory. If you could please submit a ticket. It depends on what type of report you're running. If you need a value of what you have in stock currently versus like what you have purchased, we will need to run that report on our end because there are certain reports in Vetter that we do not offer at this moment. We do have the inventory summary report, and that will show under inventory here. This is going to show a balance of each individual item that you have. Okay, and you can always download this into Excel, and you can filter out the categories and the columns into Excel.
When you do receive new items in, new stock in, where do you go here to enter the amount?
When you receive a new item from your always be sure to record the purchase here. It says new purchase. Okay, always record the purchase first. You'll be able to input your supplier, which I do want to point out that in order to have a drop-down list of your suppliers here, you will have to go into your contacts, which is right here.
Okay, I haven't done that yet.
And you'll click new company. And so you want to add that as a company first in order to have the drop-down for the manufacturer.
Okay, so every time I get in a supplies, I go there to enter it.
Yes. Unless you're using a integrated supplier, then you can do your ordering through Vetter. But if it's through a non-integrated supplier, then you would need to record everything manually here.
Okay. And that automatically puts it into my inventory, correct?
Once you record a purchase, that will change the current balance of what you have.
Okay, where do I go?
I can always go high.
I'm going to have to start putting all the inventory next week into Vetter before we start using it. Once I count everything, where do I go to put my initial count?
Sure. So always first count up your lot numbers and your balance per individual order, which is very important to know that there's an adjust balance option here to the gear icon to the right. So if you received like 10 items, but you had to throw, let's say, 1 out, you would adjust that balance here from that particular lot number.
Okay, but where do I go to initially put in the count of all my stock I have in the hospital right now? Not new stuff I'm getting in, but what I already have here on hand.
I would record that as a purchase, or you can make an overall adjustment. I mean, you can, well, let me go back. You can have a starting balance here, but if you have a history of your last purchase, you can record that first. That'll update your current balance. And then go into count each lot number and match that accordingly. And then if that is still not matching and you need to change the overall balance for this to match your current balance, there is an adjustments tab here.
Okay, there is no way to get the lot numbers on everything that we have in this clinic right now. I'm talking about entering everything clean slate right now. I have to recount all of our inventory and put it in the computer. Where do I put those initial numbers? Not a purchase, but what we already have here.
Sure, if you just need to put in the number, when you go into inventory, there's an option that you can apply a starting balance.
Okay.
And so if you click new item, there is a starting balance here once you have the information.
Okay, all my inventory's in there, just not what the amount. So just go to that inventory item and enter the starting balance?
Yes, you can do that there, or you can put in an adjustment here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need a screen share, any additional help with that, we can walk you through the steps.
All right, appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, I am going to then end this meeting. Thank you all so much for joining and bearing with me through that painful process. And so we'll have another meeting next week. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about next. If anyone has any recommendations of what to go over, you can always be happy to talk about that in our next meeting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, okay, we get the, I mean, that's.
Having to complete a reminder.